It took 4 years, but we're at long last witnessing the inexorable bursting of the VTuber bubble. After Holomyth evinced the EN market's insatiable demand for waifus, it suddenly got a lot easier for overseas bros to indulge in this wacky little hobby. Hell, the timing was perfect for me. I distinctly remember falling into the rabbit hole via Ikam Bokum memes, and soon thereafter I was thinking, man, I wish there was an English version of this. And Holomyth started debuting the very next week! True story. I realize the universe does not reconfigure itself to conform to my personal wishes, but it's fun to imagine it did that one time. With that propitious seminal catastrophe, for a while it was nothing but wishes granted. The genie style, not monkey's paw. HoloLive EN, Niji EN, even male VTubers got some of the love. The stocks meme got so real that even big league entertainment companies started to take note. Sony bought a small agency called Prism Project and started signing on indie talents. HoloLive artists were pumping out albums left and right. Nijisanji even took the bold step of penetrating the female market. Single entendre. So, what could possibly go awry in VTubing's steady march from niche weirdo hobby to legit industry? Well, mostly becoming a legit industry. Here, a few years later, Sony has shuttered Prism Project. There seems to be another indie graduation every week, and countless micro agencies are shutting down. Even Kawa became so much alluvium. But on the plus side, a few black company scam operations also died out in the purge. The point is, the tide has definitively rolled back, and with the right kind of eyes, we can now look west and see that high watermark. Unfortunately, this is just how business ventures usually work. Mostly they don't. It's difficult, verging on impossible, actually, for anyone to monetize entertainment. Even HoloLive itself only narrowly survived numerous near misses with bankruptcy. So a lot of the contraction we're witnessing is just sort of the natural denouement of a period of rapid growth. Remember the 90s? No, you probably don't. Most of you people watching this are probably 19 or some shit, which I often must remind myself is often true of the people behind VTubers, even and especially in big agencies, which sadly primes the VTuber world to become another all too typical example of predatory entertainment industry culture. Terrible contracts, offers too good to be true, debt traps, and power harassment. The maturation of VTubing provided a lot of well-deserved opportunities for passionate go-getters to take a swing at pursuing their dreams, but it was also bound to bring in scammers, cynics, people who think it'll be a quick buck, lol by the way, people who are pulling a psychology, and miscellaneous more Gothian agents of chaos. Doesn't it seem like a lot of guys have been getting called out for being sex perverts lately? In other words, we got a bit more like every other big industry to ever exist. I guess it was inevitable. The serpent was slithering about in our once pristine garden of scintillating delights from the very beginning. The serpent was also a girl with boobies and an ooh voice, and then some guy in a suit showed up to try to scam her out of her intellectual property. I think this analogy is holding up. Hey, speaking of the Bible, remember what happened to these two? Oh man. No single event has been a bigger before-after cataclysm than Selen Tatsuki's abrupt departure from Niji EN. Unlike a lot of other what goes up must come down type stuff, the whole Niji meltdown does not feel like it was inevitable or necessary. Seemingly, internal conflicts among the talent started to spill out into the public sphere. The consequences have been ugly, needlessly public, and just disillusioning is maybe the best word. Dokibird was asserting a toxic work environment from when she worked there as Selen, and it does seem like there had to be some deliberate stonewalling and sabotage for reasons of internal politics or spite. I mean, obviously that's unsustainable for any organization, especially one with a customer base built on immersion and community. All these problems seem to have stemmed from a penny wise, pound foolish attitude towards cutting corners in management for their talents.
But it was just so surprising to me that, you know, my manager's like, how can I help?
In other words, fashion got replaced with Wall Street bro mentality. All roads lead to Wall Street bros. Now, obviously, I don't claim to know the full story about how Niji's management works, but the results speak for themselves. Their veteran talent started jumping ship left and right. Their PR strategy over the past year has been an ever-worsening cavalcade of internecine panic on Funkatron. And man, panic is the word for it. Zion's weird, off-putting, unprofessional termination notice was but a charming prelude to the saga that was Selen's termination. We now know, after a lot of avoidable innuendo and confusion, that the specific reason management delayed Selen's last cup of coffee video at the last minute was because some former Niji talents appeared in it. And this video had been in the works for like more than a year. Either the inclusion of these intellectual properties was intentionally concealed by someone to fuck with the project, or the information was genuinely lost somewhere in their shambolic ad hoc chain of communication. Neither of these paint an auspicious picture of professional competency. All in an instant, one of the most revered pillars of this nascent industry revealed itself to be a rudderless ship. And look, there's a reason announcements like this are typically short, sort of vague, and to the point. Niji has such a bizarre habit of putting out these rambling, pages-long termination notices that read like a jilted tween bad-mouthing their ex, replete with finger-pointing, innuendo, bizarre non-sequiturs. For Zion's sake, it reads like a fucking suicide note. And I can't wait, I guess it kind of was. Fuck. And now, anecdotally, I've seen multiple indie VTubers who once applied to get into Niji who even got pretty far along in the process. We're talking like multiple rounds of interviews, but where once there was disappointment at not having got in has since been replaced with a sense of having dodged a nuclear missile. I don't know if this is some deeply clumsy attempt at transparency, but the point of being transparent is, you know, not to sow mass confusion. Hey, and if it's meant to be transparent, why is the screen black? Ooh. In fairness to Niji, at least some of the stuff they've been getting dragged on seems like just honest miscommunication, like the negligible comment. I think people kind of made too much of that. Weird ESL word choice, fair enough. And you know, Tazumi's video was actually pretty good. Dry, professional, validating to the concerns people had. It worked. I mean, it would have, but not for that whole black screen thing. Jeez. And in all honesty, while the Kurosanji memes are good zingers all, I don't think it's proportional to call any color a black company. That's some morbid shit. They're more like a perfectly normal company. Most large corporate interests have very little interest in our shared humanity beyond labor costs and increasing consumption. The last few months have seen some pretty big culture shifts among VTubers and their audiences. In fact, I get the sense that people have cooled off on the whole idea of getting into an agency in general. I mean, who in their right mind would see what's going on out here and decide to go towards the flames? Seeing how many of them aren't working out, and now the whole Niji thing, it's all starting to lose its appeal. It's like, you know, the magic is kind of dying out here. Though I think the biggest cultural shift, and maybe the most lingering impact of the Niji mess in particular, is how the taboo about discussing past lives has been effectively eradicated. Time was, the only places that would openly discuss such things were like 4chan. Now it's so common I didn't even think twice about mentioning Selen and dokibird or Zion and Sayu. Overall, this is probably necessary so talents can thrive even when the industry around them isn't behaving itself. Still, it's kind of sad that a part of the VTuber magic has needed to die in this manner. The VTuber kayfabe is verisimilitude through suspension of disbelief, not just treating it like a character played by an actor whose is the career you're actually following. In the end, it's worth it for my precious immersion to suffer a bit if it means talents like Doki and Sayu can move on and do well with their career post-agency. It's just sort of a we can't have nice things kind of situation. I remember first discovering VTubers and feeling for the first time in a long time the excitement at discovering a clever and ingenious melding of technologies that made something that felt really new and interesting. In a way, it was kind of like being a kid again, not knowing how a movie or a video game got made. There was a sort of magic about it. People go crazy trying to recapture that kind of feeling all their cynical adult lives long. But now it's all fucked. Welcome to the entertainment industry, I guess. For a medium that's so uniquely reliant on escapism, this kind of hits extra hard. Oh well, it was fun while it lasted. But hey man, it's not all bad. Did you see Fifth Fest? Man, that shit was immaculate. They're even doing new versions of the Watame roll call song. Did you know that? Oh, also I found a bunch of cool indie games on the Steam sale. Maybe play a few of those on stream sometime. XO1. Ooh, Infinite Craft 2. Yeah, I was the first one to discover Schrodinger's Twink. Pretty proud of that. Don't worry, we'll have plenty of fun stuff to talk about.